What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another WNBA video. We got a 4-game slate to dive into here to tip off the WNBA playoffs Sunday, September 14th. So we're going to break down and analyze all 4 of these games. I'm going to talk about which way that I'm leaning as far as the points on the spread. And then when it's all said and done, make sure you check right down there into that pinned comment. You'll find a link down there that'll send you over to the Guy Boston Sports website. That's where all of my final plays for these games are going to live for free. Now, guys, let's go ahead and recap the regular season before we dive into these games. We did finish profitable on the year, which is a success in my eyes, man, considering the fact that we had a brutal stretch from mid June-ish to like mid July-ish, just an entire month of just straight hell, man. They're horrible, horrible nights where just some of the baddest beats, man. I lost so many plays on the hook really throughout the year, but especially in that time period. It was countless nights where there'd be multiple plays that we would lose on the hook. It was rough, man. We were down close to 6 units at one point, right? We do finish the year up 2.61 units. So look, man, not this huge record-setting year, right? But to finish profitable, to finish up a couple units after being down close to 6 and just having, like I said, a miserable time for such a good stretch of the season there. I'm gonna count it as a win, man. A small win, but a win nonetheless, right? We do go 204 and 182 with 3 pushes as well on the season. So it's a 53% hit rate. Like I said, man, I'd love to see those numbers a little bit higher, right? The hit rate, the units. But man, we're gonna count a win where we can count a win, guys. So let's go ahead and dive into the playoffs, man. Let's see what kind of value we can find on the board here in these 4 games to open up this playoff action. Let's jump into the mix, man. Smash that like button down there for me if you can. Hit subscribe if you have not already. First game going to be tipping off 1 p.m. Golden State Valkyries taking on the Minnesota Lynx. Lynx are 12.5 point favorites in this one. That total sitting at 147.5. Now we got the Lynx coming in as the top seeded team. They're going to take on the Valkyries, guys, and let's just go ahead and give both of these teams their flowers, right? Both of them, man. What an incredible regular season for each of them, with the Lynx going wire to wire, sitting atop the standings from the jump, man, and never looking back. And then these Valkyries making a run to the postseason here in their first year of existence. Now, they are stumbling into the playoffs some, right? After winning 5 straight games, Golden State has lost their last 3 in a row to close out the year, including a 19-point loss in Minnesota to this Lynx team that had nothing to play for in that game. Now, these two, they have faced off 4 times this year. All 4 of them were Minnesota wins, 3 of which came by double digits. Now, the home team covered in all 4 of those games. But look, man, for as fun as this Valkyries team has been this year, I'm thinking that trend's going to hold up here in game 1 with the home team covering. Look at the Lynx, man. They've been a machine at home, just pure dominance this year. 20-2 straight up. 14-8 with 1 push to the number, while the Valkyries have gone 9-13 on the year straight up, went away. 12-10 against the spread in those road games. Look, Coach Nakase has done a great job with this team, man. They finished the year sitting at 3rd for defensive rating. They've been a better team at home all season long. On the road, they dropped to 9th defensively. Now, over their last 5 games, the offense has taken a slide as well. Second from last for offensive rating, just 10th overall on the year. The Lynx come in at first over the course of the season and across the board, offensively, defensively, and for net rating overall. And what's going to hurt Golden State the most here is Minnesota's prowess along the perimeter. They're shooting at the highest percentage on the year from deep and hitting the second most threes per game. Golden State's giving up the 4th most threes, and on the road this year, they've allowed the 3rd most 3-pointers and sit at just 7th for 3-point shooting percentage allowed. Golden State also relies on that defense to generate things on the offensive end as well. In their last 5 games, they're 4th for percentage of points scored off of turnovers, but Minnesota on the year, they're giving up the 3rd fewest turnovers, and honestly, they're getting out on the break more themselves. 2nd for points scored off of turnovers, and 2nd for fast break points. Golden State, they're sitting at just 7th for fast break points defended, and they're coming in at 4th from last for points allowed off of turnovers when looking at them in their road games specifically. That is a lot of points to lay, man, especially with a team that's won 4 straight over their opponent. It's hard to win 3 times in a row, 4 times in a row, and 5 times in a row. It's difficult, man. And, I'm hesitant because we have seen the Lynx play with their food a ton this year, right? And turn things on late in games, securing the win, but not so much the cover. But with that said, Minnesota has been made a double digit favorite now in 18 games. They've covered in 12 of those. So when they're expected to win big, typically they do. Now, we do got to note that in 7 games as a double digit dog, the Valkyries did go 6-1 against the spread themselves. But The last time they were made a double-digit dog, let's go ahead and dive into that a little bit, right? That was way back in mid-June, and the prior 6 times came before that, obviously, right? These were spreads that came out before, Vegas or anybody, knew quite how good this Golden State team was and was going to become as the season went on. So all in all, Minnesota covering as double-digit favorites consistently throughout the year is just much more impressive as, opposed to Golden State covering as double-digit dogs at the beginning of the year solely. I think the Valkyries have a tough draw here, man, for their first ever postseason game and matchup. And you have the Lynx coming in on a mission, right, to avenge last season's bitter defeat. I think the Lynx roll here, man. They could take this one by 20 plus, in my opinion. So give me Minnesota here. For the total, 3 of the 4 head-to-heads, including 3 straight, have landed under between these two, with lines coming out lower with each game, 156, 155, and then 152.5 the last time out. Now this one opening up at 149.5, now down to 147.5. Now, this line obviously shows you where the books are looking and what they're expecting here. And although with this line getting lower and lower, we're starting to see money come in on the over, I agree with the number dropping, man. If I think Minnesota wins this one and wins it soundly by double digits, because I'm expecting that Lynx defense at home to just completely stifle this already struggling Valkyries offense. Golden State's averaging just 69 points per game over their last 5. The Lynx are only averaging 81, so neither of these teams is coming in blazing offensively. The Lynx are 6th for pace in their last 5. Golden State sitting at dead last. Now, my biggest concern here is, if Minnesota catches fire from outside, and they could, then an under goes up in flames. But with what we've discussed already in mind, that's the way that I'm leaning here. I'd be looking at an under. And next up, 3 p.m. tip-off time for our next game, looking at the Indiana Fever taking on the Atlanta Dream. Dream are 7.5-point favorites, total sitting at 159.5. Now, over the 4 head-to-heads this year, we saw them split those 4 games, each of these teams winning 1 at home and 1 on the road. The Dream, man, they've been a pretty good team at home this year, right? 16-6 at home straight up, 14-8 against the spread. The Fever, meanwhile, they've gone 11-11 on the road, 10-12 to the number in those road games. Both these teams, though, they are coming in with some momentum, right? The Fever have won 3 straight, 5 of their last 7, while the Dream have rattled off 6 straight wins, 8 of their last 9. Now, in those 8 of the 9 that they won, 2 of those came back-to-back against the Lynx and then a 16-point dominant win over the Liberty, right? But those 6 straight to close out the year, it did come over the Wings, the Sparks twice, and then the Sun 3 times, right? But with that said, even, the Dream did exactly what a good championship contending team should do in that spot, right? Not only winning all 6 of those games that, yes, they should have won, but also covering in all 6 of those, with 4 of those 6 coming as a double-digit favorite. 2 of them, they were favored by 15 points even. So, yeah, inferior opponents, sure. But nonetheless, man, impressive performances from the Dream. And Atlanta, they look to be coming into this one healthy, right? Alicia Gray did miss some games towards the end of the year, but that seemed more precautionary than anything, man, and she should be ready to roll here for the Dream, who are coming into this series with much more depth on their side of things. Fever, man, they've been ravished by injuries, and I think ultimately that's what does them in here against the Dream, because they did match up well with the Dream throughout the season, right? In those 4 head-to-heads. Atlanta plays at a pace and style that just really effectively breaks and wears their opponents down. And over the last 5 games, first for offensive rating, second for both defensive and overall net rating. Indiana is sitting at 5th defensively. They're 6th for net rating when on the road this year, but offensively, they take a hit, dropping to just 8th for offensive rating. They're also just 8th for points per game on the road this season. They're shooting at the lowest percentage from outside when playing away. And you look at what Indiana has done well recently heading into this one. They're 3rd for points scored off of turnovers. They're 4th for points scored from the paint. 1st for second chance points, 4th for offensive rebounds. Just not sure how much success they'll have in these same respects against this Atlanta defense, right? The Dream are allowing the fewest offensive rebounds on the year, the fewest second chance points over their last 5 games. They're 6th in their last 5 for points allowed from the paint, and they're giving up the lowest shooting percentage as well from inside the restricted area. They're also giving up the 3rd fewest turnovers and the fewest points off of turnovers. So this feels like a really tough spot for the Fever offensively, especially here on the road in Atlanta. I'm going to lean with the Dream here in this one. Now, for the total, I feel the same here with the Fever that I do, with the Valkyries in their game. These are teams that have exceeded expectations this year. The Fever technically underachieved considering their expectations entering the season, but with all the adversity and injuries that they faced throughout the year, man, making the playoffs despite all of that does feel like they exceeded altered expectations as the season went on. And with that said, man, this Atlanta team is much more deep and much more talented on both ends of the court. Defensively, they have a huge edge, and offensively, they can be very hard to beat when they get going from the outside. They're second from three-point shooting percentage over their last five. So similar to that first game, man, I do worry about the Dream catching fire here, especially from the outside and killing the idea of an under. But I'm leaning that way with the defense of Atlanta in mind, and the Fever struggles on the road this season. And our third matchup. New York Liberty, Phoenix Mercury. Liberty are 1.5 point favorites. Total sitting at 164.5. Going to be a 5 p.m. tip-off time for this one. Man, this has the makings to be one of the best series in the entire postseason, right? It's the defending champs will look to take on the new look Mercury, with Phoenix having home court in this one, man. You look at this game initially without diving into the numbers, and you're almost like inclined to look at the favorites here, right? Look at the defending champs, man. They entered the postseason last year with a lot of question marks, some frustrating losses to close out the year, just not looking like they were playing good enough ball to make a run. And then they took the whole thing and won it all. This year they enter the playoffs with a similar feeling, man, but this is a team that's been hit by injuries all year long. First Jonquel Jones, then Breanna Stewart, then Sabrina Ionescu. They've only played a handful of games with everyone available, and in those games, the Liberty have looked really tough, man, really hard to beat. The Mercury came into the season with what looked like a really top-heavy roster themselves. You know, they had the newly acquired Alyssa Thomas and Satu Sabali. They formed that new big three in Phoenix with Ka Copper, who I haven't talked about, that much this year, but she is still by far my favorite player in the league, man. Just a dynamic scorer. And she's really benefited from the additions of Alyssa Thomas and Satu Sabali as well. Now, she was hurt earlier in the season also, but, all three of them in that big three are healthy and ready to roll here. But these Mercury are much more than just those three, man. And they proved that throughout the year. They have the depth and the pieces to contend with the best of the best in the league. In the four head-to-heads this year between these two teams, it was Phoenix that took the season series, man, winning and covering in three of those four games. Now, it should be noted that in all three of those Phoenix wins, the Liberty were down Jones for the first two. She actually left the first meeting between these two 8 minutes into action. Then they were down Sabrina in their last meeting. The one New York win, they came in completely healthy and won by 13 in New York. But with that said, man, the Mercury were thin in the front court in that loss. They were down both Kalani Brown and Katie Westbeld in that one. Phoenix did stumble to the finish line as well, man, closing out the regular season with three straight losses. But let's keep in mind, minutes were limited to key rotational players in each of those last two games. The Liberty come in having won three straight, but besides an impressive win in Seattle to kick that off, the last two have come over the Mystics and Chicago, two bottom feeders that they failed to cover against despite winning those games outright. These two, they both finished at 27 and 17 on the year. But if we look at the home and away splits, man, the Mercury have gone 15 and 7 at home, 12 and 10 to the number, while the Liberty are just 4, 17 and 1 against the spread when playing away, 10 and 12 straight up in those road games. Phoenix is hitting the third most threes over their last five. They're converting those at the fifth highest shooting percentage as well, while the Liberty are sitting at seventh for three-pointers allowed, eighth for three-point shooting percentage allowed. Man, with them being at home, I like the Mercury in this one for game one, but it's definitely close, right? And on paper, they both match up well. New York at full strength has been pretty scary this season, like I said, but so have the Mercury at home. Ultimately, I just see, I've seen more from them throughout the course of the season to trust them in this spot. So give me the home dog on the side in this one. I'll be leaning with the Mercury, man, catching the points. For the total, they've split on the year with two overs in their first two head-to-heads, followed by two unders over their last two meetings. Liberty have definitely slowed things down for sure. Second from last for pace over the last five games. The Mercury, they're coming in at third here. But on the year, Phoenix sits at fourth for pace. New York, fifth. I like points to be scored in this one, man. Both these teams like to shoot the outside shot a ton. They're both going to put up a bunch of three-point attempts. They're both tied for fifth for fast break points. They both like to get out, transition, and run. So I think we see some pace, man. And, there's talent on both sides of the ball here. So I think we definitely see some buckets going down. And I think we see them both get after it here, man. We have a great game that's also high scoring, high energy, just fun to watch overall, man. So I'm going to be leaning over. I can't wait to watch this one. It's going to be the best game on the slate, I think. Then the last game on the night, 10 p.m. tip-off time, going to be the Seattle Storm taking on the Las Vegas Aces. We got the Aces coming in 6.5 point favorites, total sitting at 159.5. Man, Vegas comes into these playoffs as the hottest team in the league, right? 16 straight wins. They've won 18 of their last 19 games. I didn't expect this at all. At all, man. The Aces that we saw at, the opening of the year, at the beginning of the season, that's the Aces that I thought we'd see all season. Changes in the rotation and just their overall mindset that really occurred after that beatdown that they took from Minnesota at home. That's what turned out to be the thing that really just like shifted everything for the Aces, right? It also turned out to be their most recent loss. That was back on the 2nd of August. So over a month of winning basketball for the Aces here, man. And they sit at 30 and 14 on the year, taking that 2 seed from Atlanta. And while they're just, 11, 10, and 1 against the spread at home, they've gone 17 and 5 straight up in Vegas. While that covering record at home on the year isn't the prettiest, they have gone 7-2-1 to the number over their last 10 games overall. The Storm, man, they've just been wildly inconsistent, for much of the year, right? 6-4 over their last 10, but just 2-8 against the spread in those 10 games. These two, they did split their head-to-head battles on the season, but the Aces took the most recent in early August. They won that one by 4, and they covered as a short favorite. This one feels pretty simple to me, man. How do you bet against the Aces right now? You know what I mean? I tried. I tried twice with the Dream. I don't know how you get behind um, going against the Aces for one, but also how do you get behind a team that's been so up and down like Seattle here to be that team that ends this winning streak for Vegas? It can happen. Anything can happen, right? But I'm not putting my money on that one there. I would not bet against the Aces right now. The Storm have played better on the road this year than at home, though. They've played these Aces tight all season long as well, winning outright by 20 and then 7. And then they lost by just 5 and 4 in each of the Aces wins. Seattle is 4th for offensive rating, 7th defensively, and 5th for net rating over their last 5. Second offensively and third for both defensive and overall net rating in their last 5 on the road. But the Aces, man, they're coming in at second offensively, first for both defensive and net rating over their last 5. So, like I said, I could see a path for the Storm here. I'm not betting that myself, man. I'm not looking to go against these Aces anytime soon. So I'll lean with Vegas on the side here. Now, for the total, 159.5 feels pretty low, right? Especially considering these two have hit to the over in 3 of the 4 they've played this season. Vegas has been great defensively, sure, but these offenses are coming in, both of them in the top 5 over their last 5 outings. So I think we see pace in this one, man. If you look at the head-to-head so far, we've had totals land in the 170s twice, and into the 180s as well in one of these games head-to-head between these two. So I like an over looking at this game. And that is going to wrap it up for today's show, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you found the content helpful and useful. And if you did, please don't forget to smash that like button on your way out. Hit subscribe if you have not already. And guys, I did want to mention as well, man, I did drop a week 2 video for the NFL. Had some issues with the upload, and it appears to be messing with the algorithm. I'm not gonna lie, because the views are so low on it, so low. So either you guys watched my week 1 video and it's just like, man, I do not mess with this cat when it comes to football, or the algorithm is really just messing with me right now. So make sure you guys click into that as well, man. Check out the week 2 picks and show your boy some love over there as well, man. I definitely appreciate it. And that's going to do it, man. Hope you guys all cash out and have yourself a great Sunday, both in the NFL, like we just mentioned, and over here in the WNBA as well. Plenty of things to bet on, plenty of action to have under our belt, man. I'm excited. It's going to be a fun Sunday. So I hope you guys all cash out, and I'll see you back tomorrow for the next one.